Hello, cinephiles. I'm Sue Wright, and welcome to Wild Rivers Film Radio, the official podcast of the Wild Rivers Film Festival on KCIW 100.7 FM radio. We'd like to thank the City of Brookings and Curry County Cultural Coalition, Oregon Cultural Trust for their generous grant support, and a special thanks to Boardwalk Mail, our first official sponsor of 2025. If you're interested in sponsoring the Wild Rivers Film Festival and supporting our mission to celebrate indie cinema on the Wild Rivers coast, you can learn more at wildriversfilmfestival.com. And if this is your first time hearing about Wild Rivers Film Festival, we're so glad you're here. The Wild Rivers Film Festival is a celebration of indie and local cinema that takes place every third week of August in Brookings, Oregon. Over 4 action-packed days, we screen more than 50 films across 3 locations, host question and answer sessions with visiting filmmakers, present educational panels, throw VIP parties, and cap it all off with an unforgettable awards ceremony. Festival passes are on sale now at wildriversfilmfestival.com, and we can't wait to see you at the show. So today we're diving into the local elements of a film economy, from location scouting to permitting. Filmmaking doesn't just happen in big cities, you know. It thrives in places like Curry County, where stunning landscapes and community support make for a perfect backdrop. And joining us today is Miranda Plagge, Director of Travel Curry Coast, to share her background, her love for film, and how she's helping grow a film-friendly economy right here on the southern Oregon coast. So Miranda, welcome to our podcast. Let's start with your journey. I know you have a degree in filmmaking from New Mexico, and I'd like you to share with us what inspired you to pursue that path and what your experiences were like in film school.
Such a great question, and I'd like to start off saying I'm a Johnny-come-lately. My journey was sort of very roundabout. I had a love for film and just the idea of filmmaking as a teenager. To be honest, it was a very specific movie. Led me to think, oh, is this something that people actually have a job doing? And it was The Last of Mohicans.
Oh, okay. Mine was Restless, but yeah, I understand what you're saying about there's this one movie.
Yeah, there was this one movie, and it was the stunning shots that really captivated me. That movie just was so beautifully shot, made me think, who does that and how do you become that? And so that was sort of my love of film. Although I did grow up, I think, with a healthy love for film with my folks. We watched a lot of classic movies in our house. We didn't watch a lot of things that were going on in the 80s and 90s, although I did grow into it.
What's a favorite classic film for you from your growing up?
So I do tend to love a lot of older comedy. So anything with Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
Bob Hope is another one that I love. And then there's just so many. There really is.
And then so the leap to film school.
The leap to film school was I had decided to go back to school after working professionally and said I wanted to do something. But around it was the idea of entrepreneurism. So I started in business. And so I went through the business school, and I got up to probably my junior year, and some of the information started repeating itself. And for like a lot of people, I can get very bored very easily. And so I said, okay, I know how to start a business. What do I want to do? So I actually just started taking classes in different colleges just to figure out where I was going to go. And I happened to take a business for film class, a producing class. And so that was sort of the reintroduction of the love.
And so this was just happenstance.
It just happenstance. I didn't even think anything of it. I just thought this would be kind of cool to have. It would go towards my degree. This was going to be just a kind of a neat class to take. And as soon as I took the class, probably a month into it, I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't know how, but this is what I want to do. This is whatever this
resonates, like, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. It was an easy decision. I almost didn't stress about it. I think I could stress about anything like anyone. But it was a simple decision, and then I started making those moves to change my degree. So I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in creative media and digital filmmaking at the end.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'd love to see a program like that here on the Southern Oregon coast. So
I think it's doable. I really do. I think it would, in an economy like ours where we're sort of looking to expand, filmmaking arts is a great way to do that.
Yes.
And it can fall in line with tourism, which of course is a lot of everything that I do.
Yes. Yeah. So, and it highlights all of the wonderful things about our particular area.
It does. And I fell in love with it, just like I did with Last Mohicans. It was a sort of a stunning place. I have an affinity for, nature. Uh-huh. And so we happened to be out here because my partner is originally from Gold Beach. I had an opportunity in Florida. And so we thought we were going to come and tell her folks that, oh, by the way, we're moving to Florida from Colorado. We were standing out on Otter Point, and I said, this place is stunning. They had given me the whirlwind tour of the entire county. Uh-huh. And it was a sunset, and I looked at her and I said, how would you ever leave this place? And she was like, if you lived here, you would understand. And I said, I get it. I really do. But we started making moves to move here. And so it was just, how do we make that work here? Especially with a degree of mine, And
I was going to ask you, because now you're a director of Travel Curry Coast, and that doesn't sound like filmmaking. So can you tell us how that works?
That's sort of in line with the sort of the entrepreneurship and just the idea of how can I make this work? As an older adult, for instance, and I'm not right out of high school, I didn't envision going to LA or to Albuquerque like a lot of my classmates. I knew that I was going to use it in a very different way. And so I started looking around at the people who had graduated and who were using it differently. And there was one person who I sort of zoned in on, and he was using it in marketing. So he was filming a lot of marketing spots, and he was using his editing skills and filming skills to do this for an agency, an in-house. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And so I had this sort of altruistic idea of helping small businesses at the time that YouTube actually started taking off. And so I moved back after graduating to Colorado, and I said, okay, let's start helping out small businesses. And so that was something that we did. I worked part-time as well, to make ends meet, but it was something that I was doing. And then when we decided to come out to Oregon, it was like, okay, how else am I going to do this? Now, I'll be frank, when I got to Curry 6 years ago, the landscape was a little different. I think there was a lot of nervousness of just being on Google. Uh-huh. And so I knew it was going to be difficult to try to sort of open up something that was foreign to a lot of businesses in this area. And so I sort of had to immediately say, okay, maybe not right now, and figure this out. But the county, believe it or not, had put it out an ad looking for someone with a video experience. And it was because that they filmed the actual BOC meetings that they were looking for someone with that experience. Now, it just happened to be that I would be seated in economic development as an assistant. And so that's where I started.
And they actually televise those meetings, right?
They do. And, we've gone through updates in our equipment. Things have, broken down. And so it has been a sort of a roller coaster ride, but it's been neat to sort of oversee that program. I don't anymore. It's something that just because of how busy I am.
This is a full-time job.
It is. It is. Yeah. So that's something that really brought me to this spot in business. That's where I started. Again, wanting to be an entrepreneur. I think what I enjoy about what I do now is the same relationships that I would have made, as an entrepreneur, because that's really where I feel like business is.
And you're supporting a lot of business people in the area.
Yeah.
Right?
I grew
growing the tourism here.
Absolutely. It's really in service. That's how I see it. Probably not a lot of people my age grew up volunteering. And so that's something that I attribute to my folks. We did some volunteering as kids. And so I understood what it means to sort of give in service. And I really enjoy the idea of being able to support the community in any way that I can. And in tourism, within this business structure, I have an opportunity to really invest in people's dreams, their ideas, things that they do for fun, and all in supporting businesses and bringing people to this area. And so I use a lot of my skills today. Still, I'm creating content, and content for most people now is video.
And that video goes on YouTube?
Video goes on YouTube. We send it out to, we do TV spots, so out in Medford and Eugene. A lot of what I do, I have to make sure that we're sending it out 50 miles outside of the area. So a lot of times folks don't see that, but
Locally, so
locally, yeah.
it's going around the Pacific Northwest.
It is, and we've advertised all the way out to Canada. So we're doing a really good job about bringing people. And I think most people could look around now, Curry, and know that it's a little bit busier than it used to be.
The summers are definitely busy, right? But I did notice this year that the tourist season extended all the way into October. We were down in Brookings, we were still seeing the restaurants full and people on the boardwalks.
Absolutely. So Harris Beach is, for the second year in a row, has been the most visited day use park in the state. 4.1 million last year came through.
Wow.
Yeah.
4.1 million.
Yeah, 4.1 million.
Harris Beach.
Harris Beach. So that it's a stunning feat to know where we were and where we come from. And people are just regionally traveling to this area more. I hear now more, from Oregonians who never came to this area that love this area now. People from North California who visit here often, that this is their favorite new spot.
It's kind of a hidden spot, right? So people in Washington get down to Lincoln City, that's Oregon coast.
Yes.
And people from California get up to the Lost Coast, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the exciting part is using the skills that I've accumulated over the years for what I do right now. And a lot of it is editing. A lot of it is storytelling. So I still use just the basis of storytelling as, something that's really just in part.
It starts with storytelling, doesn't it? It's telling an authentic story.
Absolutely. Who we are, the type of visitors we want to bring, those are the types of stories that we tell. So
Outdoor adventure stories, right?
Yes, outdoor adventure stories. Even as a native Coloradan, the move to Oregon was very easy because it was just the same similar lifestyle.
I do know that last year we had 2 shorts, documentary shorts, that just resonated with our audience. One was on the surfing culture here in Oregon called Rolling Tides. Clayton Sackett out of Fox University. That was his senior project.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was wonderful. And I think a lot of people didn't know that we had a surfing culture here on the Oregon coast.
Yes, the locals would like to keep that quiet.
And the other one was by Vincent DeFrancesco with the Siskiyou Mountain Club, and they did a short on the Kalmiopsis wilderness and taking the crew up there to maintain the trails, and how it's breathtakingly beautiful, but it's also really, really hard work.
Oh, yeah. You have to absolutely love the outdoors to do that type of work, because you'll never sort of see it afterwards, the way it's maintained, unless you go back up there with the same crew.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's definitely a love for nature, for hiking, for just the outdoor adventures.
So to get those stories out there, I think, is just really important. And now that Wild Rivers Film Festivals, one of our big goals is working to support a growing film economy here on the coast. And you've been involved in location scouting and permitting with the county, as I understand it. So can you tell us a little bit more about where we're going with growing a film economy from the county's perspective?
Yeah, so it's more in support of location scouts who actually come here. There's actually a few people who lived here who are location scouts by trade. Mm-hmm. So I've had those conversations with those folks and just picking their brain on what we could do better, right? So I'll be soon freed up in my time a little bit in the next few months, where we'll start working towards that next goal of creating this film program to bring productions here, right? With the last big film production, it was a $1.4 million investment during COVID. Right. Mm-hmm. And I believe,
it was 6?
Yeah.
It was the Adam Driver film.
Yeah.
6 million BC or something.
Yeah,
I'm going to get the title wrong.
Yeah. You know exactly the one I'm talking about. Yeah. Same here. I just lost it. So that movie was instrumental in keeping the area afloat, because what happens with a big production like that is they're renting locations. They're going into the hardware stores, buying stuff that they need,
To set.
Just for set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're buying wood, all that stuff. They're eating in the local restaurants, every day that we went out.
They're staying in the local
hotels,
Mm-hmm.
So it is a huge influx of money to the economy. And at the time, COVID, it was
really important.
It was really important. I think there were a lot of businesses were very scared. And so it actually helped the economy because they were up and down Curry all the way into
But it has such a small footprint because most people didn't even know it was here. Even people who know about it knew about it after the fact. They didn't know it was happening when it was happening.
A big production is very good at that. You know, they can come in and come out. I think the first time I saw something like that was a movie called Due Date, and it was being shot. A couple of scenes were being shot in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I went to school, New Mexico State University. And so we were able to get on site and watch them. And that day they were flipping a car off a bridge. Yeah.
That sounds like a really big deal.
It was a big deal. But believe it or not, it was still, people didn't know about it until it was in the paper. So, you know, in college town, it's about 100,000 people. You would think more people knew about it. But it was still something that after they left, they found out and heard about it. And, you know, a lot of people thought that was really cool. So it was something that I sort of early on understood sort of the impact that it can have on the community. So that's always been in the back of my head. I know even with Travel Oregon, for instance, they also see the opportunity with movie tourism. Mm-hmm. Folks loving to go to locations where movies have been
the filmed. Oregon Film Trail.
Yeah, the Oregon Film Trail.
Really growing.
It is. It's something that they've had a few different meetings about at the conferences. So we're getting a lot more information on how we can do better to bring people to the area just based off of that. We're certainly looking into that. But the economy itself, to support it, the things that I'm doing, for instance, are I'll link up with the Association of Film Commissioners International, and we'll get a certificate in becoming a liaison.
Okay.
And so then that'll put us on a list.
It puts you in the formal network.
It puts me in a formal network. It'll put us in a list for location scouting, and then that'll help us sort of be on the map of places to go.
So then when we have filmmakers come here for the film festival and we can get them out to see potential locations, then now they're going to have a formal resource here
absolutely.
To reach back and say, we're thinking about shooting this.
And sometimes that's all that's needed, right? I have linked up with the folks here at the state, Film Oregon, you know, and so
Tim Williams is wonderful to work with, and he's one of our sponsors. So big shout out to
Tim.
Yes,
because he was instrumental in giving me a lot of information as well as far as the production, how it affected the economy, and so I knew very quickly that was going to be a catalyst for this area because one, it is stunning. We have so many beautiful, stunning locations. Mm-hmm. It behooves me that we don't have more already. Even if we were doing like car commercials, just some of the backdrops of cars going by, which we have in the past, you know. But I could see a lot more going on in the area.
Fashion catalogs, just name it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're also supporting local filmmakers.
Yes.
And as we've talked about before, the democratization of film and in the film industry, that it's not just in LA. And I think a lot of people would argue it's not in LA anymore.
It's definitely shifting, isn't it? I know we're in Austin part of the year, and Austin has a big film economy, independent filmmakers that didn't want to work in LA.
Yeah, outside of LA, you have, like you said, Austin. There's Albuquerque. There is Louisiana, and of course Georgia.
Right.
And then Canada.
And Oregon has a tax program for filmmakers too, doesn't it?
They do. And Oregon has definitely looked around to find out who's doing what and how they're doing it. And so that's come up a couple of times in increasing that as well.
So like a 25% give back for labor.
Correct.
That is like here in Oregon.
Yeah. So there's a percentage, you know, based off of the amount of local labor that they will give back. And that's an incentive for filmmakers, you know,
especially for bigger productions.
Big production, absolutely. So it certainly counts. And that's why you see a lot of films now being shot outside of LA. I think California will come back around. I mean, that's certainly where those giants...
It's probably not going away.
No, I think they'll figure something out. I really do. But the beauty of it is we've been able to see movies all across this country be made in different locations. And so the horizons are bigger.
It's really fascinating, all the movies that are made in Oregon. I mean, there's hundreds of them. Everyone thinks of the Goonies out of Astoria, and that's become iconic. But I remember seeing Rooster Cogburn with my mother, the John Wayne movie Rooster Cogburn with my mother several years ago, and then realizing that was filmed on the Rogue River. So
I did not know that.
I know. It's really fascinating when you start looking at the film history of where these films were made.
Yeah.
And Film Oregon and Oregon Made have line of posters in the Portland Airport Terminal now.
Yes.
Of all these films that were made in Oregon.
Yeah, it is a thing.
And it's really fun to just stroll by there and take a look and go, wow.
we have a lot to be proud of.
We do.
We really do. And I think, we're still continuing to grow. The last time that I looked at some of the numbers, like we've increased even year over year, the amount of productions in Oregon. And that doesn't just include film productions, but TV shows as well. Portland's doing a lot of TV shows right now.
Right.
So
not just Portlandia.
Yeah, not just Portlandia, even though that was a good one.
Yes. Well, before we close here, I'd like to talk just a little bit about the Brookings community in the future. I know you've been sharing with us some of the film economy that's developing here and what drew you to the Southern Oregon coast. Can you say just a little bit more about what you see for the future here?
I think we can create a nice, robust film economy in the fact that we would, for instance, maybe have 1 or 2 productions a year, right? We're not looking for 10, 20 productions a year. I think
I can't even imagine that, but
no. For me, it's always dispelling possible misinformation. So we're not, just like with our visitors, we don't want to bring everyone here. We want to bring the right ones here. So it would be the same sort of ideal. We want to bring the right productions to this area that are going to
really benefit
the economy. Right. Yeah. And of course, that also includes making sure that we're supporting like the Wild Rivers Film Festival, supporting your organization is important to me. As soon as I heard about it, I was, involved with another film festival that was trying to get off the ground. It didn't, but
it's hard. It's a hard lift.
It is a hard lift. It was a hard lift. So when you folks came around with the Wild Rivers Film Festival, I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's not exactly magic, but it takes someone who knows how to do it, and it takes folks that are willing to work to make it happen.
It is work.
And we've had both those things in Dan Springen from the Orlando Film Festival helping us with films and the event. And
it's all volunteer hours.
It's all volunteer hours. We have a working board. They work really hard.
That's the beauty of that, right?
Working 20 hours a week sometimes or more as volunteers. And then we have the film workshop coming up for our youth in the summer. So coming back to that idea that it would be great to have a film school, at least a 1-year certificate in media and filmmaking here.
I've mentioned it to SWAC, and so it's something that every once in a while I'll poke.
They do seem interested.
Poke them and say, hey, this would be a great program, because I think, again, it's sort of the democratization of film. Things like YouTube. Even YouTube is now supporting, they're looking at content creators as producers. They're creating an infrastructure around it where you can do episodes now.
Right.
So I think that's where we're heading. Right?
I do too.
I think entertainment is heading towards, a broader base.
And a film certificate that would be focused on what's often referred to as below the lines positions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything from makeup and hair and set design to camera and lights and
I think,
grip and electric.
I think that,
right?
that line, the above and the below, is going to become one.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
And I know we have creative kids in our community that just need a pipeline to get there.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't think about it. You're really interested in film or how does that go together? But are you going to go down to LA and do a summer workshop that costs several $1,000s as a teen from Brookings? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
But if it's happening in your own backyard and it's minimally expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's where you're going to get the excitement going forward, is with the youth.
So we're going to need to bring this to a close, as much as I'm enjoying this conversation. But before we wrap up, are there any exciting upcoming events you'd like to share with our audience?
We have a slew of events coming up for the summer, right? The Zelia Festival in Brookings is the one that sort of starts the whole summer off.
It does.
So we're excited for that one. That's coming up soon. We're heading to the Governor's Conference here shortly on tourism. And so that'll give us an outlook of what to look forward to, for instance, even in film and film tourism. So I'm looking forward to the conversations. That's really where I grab ideas and I run with them. So.
You do run with them. Thank you. And where can we find more information about Travel Curry Coast and staying updated on their events?
So we do have a newsletter. You can always reach out to us, travelcurrycoast.com, and reach out to us at econdev@currycountyor.gov, and we're happy to get more information to you folks there. But yeah, look for our newsletter. Our newsletter we do send out.
It's a great newsletter.
Yeah, we are trying to put more great information into it and make sure that people know what's going on in the area. We are coming out with a new summer concert calendar. So there are a lot of things that we're working on to sort of make things a little bit more visible.
Not just for tourists out of our area, but for all these local folks.
No, the best sort of, destination development has locals in mind. And so that's constantly whatever we do. Yeah, whatever we do, we have to benefit locals as well.
Yes.
So that's always what I'm looking for.
Locals are at the core of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Miranda, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great learning more about your journey and your role in Travel Curry Coast and the way that plays in supporting film and tourism in our region. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wild Rivers Film Radio, and I'm Sue Wright. And that's it for this episode. If you want to learn more about Wild Rivers Film Festival, buy passes, volunteer, or sign up for a sponsorship, you can do it at wildriversfilmfestival.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest updates. Our recording is by Michael Gorse, sound mixing and editing by Tom Bozak, produced by Amanda Whittenmore. Our guest today was Miranda Plagge, and I'm Sue Wright. See you next time.